which is why most agents and managers, they don't want to start with people who are development, because they want people that have already gone through the bumps and scrapes and bruises, and really understand how the game is played. um so yeah, I don't blame most. I don't blame reps for wanting to weed out people
Of course.
that are not professionals.
Well,
um
I mean,
yeah.
look, I mean, 15, 20 years ago, we would go to an audition right when everything was kind of going digital, and you maybe have 100 people, I mean, max. But now
Hmm.
you can have 4,500 people. So,
Hmm.
big note for actors, get your shit in right away. Early bird
Oh
catches the
yeah.
worm and gets noticed. Because I know some casting directors go,
Hmm.
I watch all of them. I bet you
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
when
yeah,
you got 4,500 and
yeah,
and
yeah,
some nepo
yeah.
I'm kidding, I won't get into that.
No.
But it's something that you have to learn and keep your ear to the ground
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah.
Otherwise, the odds are just not stacked against you. But let me ask you a question as a owner, creator of what you've done in the agency. Of course, I'm talking to Rick Ferrari, who is Ferrari Agency, primary commercial, right?
That's it. But
Okay.
yeah, we just stick to commercials and voiceover,
Okay.
because that's what I spent the last 16, 17 years doing, and I did it successfully. So I figured if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
I have great alliances with, from the biggest to the mid-size to the boutique, theatrical agents. And I love being, Switzerland, where I don't have a theatrical department. So I'm not really, you know, uh, yeah, we do
Yeah.
well enough with commercials. So that should speak for itself. We do well enough with
It
commercials
does.
where we don't have to do anything else.
Right. Well, let me
Yeah.
ask you really quickly. When you talked about, we said a lot of times agencies that are looking to pick people up or their actors are looking to get picked up.
Hmm.
One of the things that I think comes into play a lot is the mental game. And in this
Hmm.
day and age where everybody is duly, should be, concerned about everybody's mental health, um,
Hmm.
when you go through your actors, uh, do you see any of this changes affecting their sort of like professional mental health?
Yes. I mean, there's all sorts of people that are attempting, like we said earlier, it's not for everybody. So there's all sorts of people that react differently. And of course, I don't have as much engagement with actors as maybe a manager would.
Right.
Um, but I definitely I offer my services with a management twist to it, because I'm definitely much more personalized than the average commercial agent. But so I get to witness people's mental health being challenged by certain aspects of how they're approaching the business, how they're approaching having a career. I'm really honest with people, and if I think that it's not something that they should be pursuing, I respectfully offer that as a suggestion.
That's
And
great.
I tell them there's nothing wrong with browsing, with window shopping, with trying acting, because you never walk away from the acting profession with a waste of time. You always
No.
end up gaining so much life experience, so much value that you can bring to producing or casting or real estate, or any
Right.
other career that you decide to that any other career that you gravitate towards, that you find is truly your calling. So
Right.
I think that it's a wonderful thing for young people to explore. Not just young people. I even encourage older people. I've started people in their 60s,
Yeah.
you know, uh, you know, um, but it's a wonderful thing to experience. So,
Agreed. Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with you on that. And, best way I could put it is it's like public speaking with costumes. The bottom, the bottom line is that, look, back in the day, all I wanted to do for the first 20 years of my life was a musical theater. I mean, I
Hmm.
did about 150 shows. I danced, Caddy ballet, all this other stuff I do. Dance,
Hmm.
sing, act, and all that. And that's all I wanted to do. But then I quickly
Hmm.
realized that I was going to starve because I'm not in New York and regional theaters. But the point is that, you know, all the skills that I watched, because I worked at a musical theater school, a very large one for a while. And what I found, it's interesting now, seeing a lot of the students that I had, because I also taught commercial coaching and so on, back with John Robert Powers. Oh, shit. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. $1,000 headshots, everybody. Boom. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. But the point is that,
Barbizon. Do you remember Barbizon models?
yes, I'm
Yeah.
sure they remember
Same
themselves
thing.
too,
Yeah.
but I try to forget them. But the thing is that I watch people that were younger and now are, you know, adults with kids, and they reach out to me and go, I don't think there's anything better than what I did with your classes and the musical theater school, because now instead of being the wallflower, they're the ones out there in the front, sales,
Yeah.
marketing, doing their stuff. They don't have
Hmm.
a problem because they've done this thing with themselves that they're confident enough to know that they can do it. And a lot of that
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
from this. I mean, you may not
Yeah.
end up an A-lister, but you
Yeah.
certainly can get a wonderful kick on whatever you are going to do and be like a force to be reckoned with. So I agree.
Let's get into what people want to know about commercials and the
Yeah,
commercial industry, and let's get into it.
absolutely.
Um, what
What are you seeing?
I'm seeing, I'm seeing that it's not as tilted towards people of color only, where it became almost an extreme thing. Um, but you have to understand that the advertising agencies are there to protect the brands.
Hmm.
The advertising agencies are there to err on the side of caution for their brands.
Of
And
course.
and when Black Lives Matter happened and COVID happened, there was already a huge movement to make sure that there was more inclusivity in Hollywood and in films, television, and of course, advertising, commercials, and modeling. So, those ad agencies, they represent those brands. And so they are there to advise them and say, well, you know, in your commercial that we're about to shoot, we don't suggest that the idealized beauty be, a blonde hair, blue eyed man or
Right.
woman. We suggest that you go a different route, even if it's someone Caucasian, then maybe you go more Mediterranean, with brown hair, brown eyes, etc. But the pendulum has swung a little bit more into the middle, and there's a lot more inclusivity everywhere. I mean, there's definitely more roles now than there were 3 or 4 years ago for Caucasian actors, which is
Yeah.
nice. I mean, it's definitely sort of evened out all over the place. And but what I can say is that model types or the very obvious leading men and women types, there are very few roles offered to them in commercials nowadays because most advertising agencies are advising their brands to go real, to go very authentic. They are telling their brands, listen, people are responding to influencers that are on social
Yep.
media that are just everyday people that have something interesting about them. They're responding to casting that looks really authentic, that looks like
Right.
real people.
Right.
And, so of course, there's always a cool commercial that has some sort of um, interesting creative happening where they do cast, an obvious, leading man or woman. But, it's definitely not a bread and butter land for people that look like Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie.
No, and let me just throw this out and say to you again, we go back to the UGC stuff, which is user
Hmm.
generated content, and
Yeah.
also ambassadors and influencers. I mean, let's look at this. I mean, the vertical has come out, and it's all of a
Hmm.
sudden, blah, 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 blah. It's the most amazing thing. I mean, I remember about a year ago, before SAG said, "Hey, we're going to
Yeah.
start trying to get verticals," and we talked
Yeah.
about this briefly, but when they said we're going to, we're going vertical and we're going to try to do this, well, before that, everybody was saying, "Oh, don't do verticals because
Don't do
they're
verticals. Yeah,
crap."
exactly.
But
Right.
now,
Right.
because But let's be
Yeah.
realistic. The reason why you're seeing now that influencers, and look, the industry, I'm just going to say out across the board from theatrical to commercial, has vastly changed and will continue to, because look at the vertical space. You're talking about
Hmm.
young people, and some of these
Hmm.
young people are getting $2,500 a day, and
Hmm.
they're taking us. I'm not going to scream ageism, but I get pretty good on those because I have a couple of credits. And the point is that, but what they're doing is they're saying that, look, if we know that the influencers and the demographic is pushing the dollar, why
Right.
would you think that we would try to go after something that didn't work? So now
Right.
everybody
Right.
is falling in the line with that, and the commercials are really about, again, the UGC, the user generated
Hmm.
content, and being real people, because influencers don't know shit about, like, I'm going to go to be or not to be, buy my products. And they're like, oh God, or sound like a radio announcer. All they know is, like, all they want to do is do weird shit and do like hooks and go like this and go, I'm back. And then you're going to go, oh, I want to watch that. And then,
Yeah.
so it's a wild
Well,
west out there,
well,
without a doubt.
well, just to add a caveat though, Will, there are actors who are also influencers, and they are a certain percentage of the influencer market. But there are many more influencers that are not actors. So I
Yeah.
mean, so there are some actors that have managed to become influencers. Um, so I wouldn't say that all influencers are unable to act, because there are some who are actually actors, but it's a smaller percentage for sure, absolutely for sure. The rest is just people that have something compelling about them, or say something compelling that that find an audience. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that at
Not at
all.
all.
I think every industry, everything changes all the time, and you have to be prepared for change. If you're not, then you're going to be dragged kicking and screaming. You have to be adaptable. That's one thing that I learned early on in my career, which is why at the age of 60, um,
Who,
you know,
you?
yeah,
What a
yeah,
liar. What are you,
yeah,
like
at the age
45
of
or
60.
something?
No, at the age of 60, that's why I still express myself, thanks to Harry Styles, I can wear pearls, and, thanks to all of the changes that have happened sociologically, I don't have to dress in a suit. Agents used to have to dress in a suit and tie. Some of them still do. God bless them. Um, but there's always going to be changes, and you have to be prepared for those
Agreed.
changes, and you have
Yeah.
to adapt. And as an actor, you know, you have to, approach it as you have to just know full well that there's going to be a ton of auditions that don't go anywhere. I feel bad almost for the person who starts their career off with a booking. I feel bad for them
Ah,
because
absolutely.
they think that that's how it's going to go. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I did my first audition and I booked, or oh, I did 3 auditions and I booked. And they have something in store for them. They have a sobering moment that's going to happen where they realize that I mean, let's face it, it happens to the actor that gets picked up, that gets cast for a series regular, and then the show only lasts for 1 season. You know what I mean? But the actor has already had people around them fill their heads with, oh, here it is. You're going to be a star. This is the game changer. This is
Right.
it.
Right.
And I've always been of the mindset in representing actors. I tell them, slow your roll. Just because this is happening doesn't mean that you are done with auditioning,
The
and
work.
the humility of starting from scratch, and
Yeah.
having to get out there and audition for parts, and much smaller parts that are not series regular.
Right.
um, you know so I try to temper their expectations by, even though it's none of my business, when they're talking about something theatrical, I'm their commercial agent. I care about them, and I care about how they react to, oh my God, I just got cast as a series regular in this Netflix show opposite so and so this is going to be what's going to make me a star, and
Yeah.
then it doesn't. So I try to keep their heads on straight so that they realize that it's just one day at a time, and the work comes and the work goes, and it ebbs and flows in such a big way that you have to know how to surf,
Right.
basically.
Well, you're saying something really important, and I think I want to kind of strengthen what you're saying by saying you have an agency and you have a reputation. And even though you said, look, I'm not going to put hands on too much with my actors and blah, blah, blah. But in essence, you really have to, because what you're doing
Hmm.
is you're cultivating people that you believe in. And the
Hmm.
problem is that if you have people going off the rail, walking into auditions going, and why am I here? Why shouldn't I? I should be in the front. And then you get a call going,
Hmm.
hey,
Hmm.
that guy's a jackass. Don't send
Hmm.
him in again. And
Right,
that's
right,
your
right.
agency.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
number one, that's why a lot of agencies aren't grabbing newbies. And
Hmm.
all this whole influence thing is great, but there's
Hmm.
a segment for those folks. But you
Hmm.
have to be cultivating these people on all of mind, body, soul in a way. Because if you
That's right.
don't, then they're going to wind up and people are going to look at you and go, oh, how many times does an actor go, oh, that agency?
Ah.
Uh, well, and that's
It's
and in this
true.
day and age,
It's true.
people are flocking to working with people and teams and never getting rid of them because they
Mm.
don't have to work every single time to find new people. One stop shop. And
Right,
and
right.
obviously if Rick can give them one stop shop and he knows that their people
Hmm.
are in line and they're professional, they look good, they're whatever, then they don't
Hmm.
have to go anywhere. And isn't that really what this new whole movement is towards?
It is. It is. It absolutely is.
Okay, I
Yes.
want to do a quick commercial. I hope you don't mind. On the bottom of here, you see that it says howtoselftape.com. It is a website that I created. I started about a year and a half ago, really coding and putting this all together. It is a one-stop shop of any actor tool.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about renaming it based upon a Yoda that came to me and said, maybe you should change it. Anyway, just because it has scene
It's so
analysis, it has a
comprehensive. It's so comprehensive. It's fucking. I'm sorry, I said
that's
fucking.
all right.
Um, it's fucking amazing. It really is.
I appreciate that.
It's very comprehensive. I took the tour, and I really think it's genius. I think it's a genius, and you can tell all the compassion that went into it. That the compassion for actors, for your fellow actors. It really, you can tell that you thought of every detail for them. That where they would need help to to navigate themselves in the waters of auditioning.
Yeah, and in general, the business and like a casting director I spoke to said, this is not just something for self taping. You can
Right.
actually make monologues. You can work on your
Mhm.
acting craft. By the way, thank you for that compliment. Can you hold up your Venmo, please? I'll give you that money you said.
Let me
But
just no see. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, no,
Sorry.
no, that's all right. But thank you very much. Check it out. By the way, I'm going to give you the secret word, and it's going to be Ferrari. If you send me a DM at the end of the show, Ferrari, I'm going to do something that I consider to be, and this has to do with acting as well, in the sense that my philosophy is, as you said, is I want to not only stay in the game, but I want to stay ahead of the game. Reason why I created howtoselftape.com and filmmakergenius.com is to be able to have people come to a community, ask questions, and someone wasn't always going to go, another fucking seminar, another blah, 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 blah. It's about me having
Yeah.
a philosophy to help people learn to get the edge, because this is, in my opinion, what acting is about. If you
Hmm.
don't love the game, I love the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
showing
Yeah.
you my
Yeah.
muscles. I'm
Goosebumps.
just showing you my,
Goosebumps.
yeah, goosebumps. If you
Goosebumps.
don't
Yeah.
love the game, sometimes it's like getting in a show. I like the rehearsal more than I like the show, because you get to sit there and, isn't that, I mean, it's what we do.
Absolutely.
And we go,
Absolutely.
oh,
Yes. Yeah.
this is a fucking great script. I did a commercial
Yeah.
yesterday. We were talking about with the fishermen. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, this is a cool script, and they want me to improv.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all these wonderful skills I want to bring into this whole equation, because right now people are walking around with like deer in the headlights, going, I don't freaking know where to go. Commercial, theatrical,
Hmm.
UGC,
Hmm.
whatever. Anyway,
Hmm.
so I just want you to
That's
know,
right. That's
use
absolutely
the
right.
word Ferrari, and I'm going to give you a book that we're going to put together that I'm going to give you that will have our little mugs on it that will say commercial 2026 hack or whatever it is to get this shit and move it along. All right. Let's say, let me do one more question or two. What do we got here? Oh, okay. I'm going to make sure that you don't have any appointments because you're busy.
No, I want to make sure that we cover what the actors really want to know.
Yeah. So if there's any questions, by all means. Oh, can I ask you a question? And you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But do you have open spaces that people go, I'd love to submit and be considered to your agency, or no?
We
Be
have,
honest.
we have an email, info@ferraritalent.com. It's info, it's really easy, info@ferraritalent.com. Also, people DM us on Ferrari Talent Agency, which is our handle here on Instagram. So, yeah, we get them both ways. I will say that most of the people that we take meetings with are referrals because, referrals, we know that they're coming from people that sort of know the person and know that they're not, flaky, they're not problematic, they're serious about acting, So there's a lot to say about referrals, So it